Labour must act over shocking asylum seeker rape revelations. Right, grab your coffee and buckle up because what I'm about to tell you will make your morning brew taste bitter. While Labour's been busy patting themselves on the back for their compassionate immigration policies, the Express has just pulled back the curtain on something absolutely jaw-dropping. The Crown Prosecution Service, that's right, the people responsible for prosecuting criminals in this country, have admitted they have absolutely no clue how many illegal immigrants have committed sexual crimes. None. Zero. Zilch. It's like running a restaurant and not knowing if your chef's been spitting in the soup. But here's the kicker that'll really get your blood boiling: they don't even bother recording whether someone's an asylum seeker when they're standing in the dock. Imagine that conversation. So, Mr. Prosecutor, can you tell us about the defendant's background? Well, Your Honor, we know he likes long walks on the beach and his favorite color is blue, but whether he's here legally? Haven't got a clue, mate. Now, before anyone starts reaching for their keyboard to call me every name under the sun, let's talk about what we're really dealing with here. This isn't about having a go at genuine refugees fleeing genuine persecution. This is about a system so broken, so willfully blind, that it's putting British citizens at risk while bureaucrats play dress-up as moral guardians. Remember when questioning immigration numbers was apparently the 8th deadly sin? When human rights lawyers, including our current Prime Minister Keir Starmer, told us that numbers don't matter and questioning our immigration policy somehow made you a cartoon villain? Well, turns out reality has a funny way of biting you on the backside, doesn't it? The statistics that are slowly leaking out paint a picture that would make a horror novelist blush. Afghan men are reportedly 20 times more likely to commit sexual offences than the average. 20 times! That's not a rounding error, that's not a statistical blip, that's a pattern so glaring you'd need industrial-strength rose-tinted glasses to miss it. Congolese nationals show significantly higher rates of violent crime. And yet, getting the full data on this is like trying to extract a confession from a politician during election season. This whole mess reminds me of the grooming gang scandal, doesn't it? Remember that delightful chapter in British history where authorities spent years looking the other way because addressing the problem might upset some people's feelings? Thousands of young girls paid the price for that moral cowardice, while officials worried more about being called names than protecting children. The parallels are so obvious, you'd have to be wearing a blindfold and spinning in circles to miss them. And what's Labour's response to these shocking revelations? Crickets. Absolute radio silence. It's like they've all suddenly developed a collective case of laryngitis whenever someone mentions immigration and crime statistics in the same sentence. Perhaps they're too busy counting their moral superiority points to deal with inconvenient truths. The Conservatives, to their credit, saw this car crash coming from miles away. They brought forward amendments to the Victims and Courts Bill that would have required courts to actually record the nationality and immigration status of offenders. Revolutionary stuff, really. Imagine that, knowing who's committing crimes in your own country. But did Labour support this common-sense measure? Did they heck? They voted it down faster than a dodgy planning application. It's almost impressive how Labour manages to be wrong on so many levels simultaneously. They've created a system where we're collecting more data on your shopping habits than on whether the person standing trial for sexual assault is even supposed to be in the country. Your local Tesco knows more about you than our justice system knows about foreign criminals. The Home Secretary, Justice Secretary, and Director of Public Prosecutions need to stop playing hide and seek with the facts. We need comprehensive data on asylum seeker charges, convictions, sentences, and deportations. Not next year, not when it's politically convenient, but now. Because every day they delay is another day our communities are left in the dark about the very real dangers they're facing. This isn't rocket science, is it? When someone commits a crime, record where they're from and whether they're here legally. When they're convicted, track what sentence they get. When they should be deported, make sure it actually happens. It's basic administrative competence, not advanced quantum physics. But here's what really gets my goat, and I suspect yours too. We've been lectured for years about compassion and tolerance, told that questioning mass immigration makes us somehow morally deficient. Meanwhile, The people doing the lecturing have created a system so chaotic that they can't even tell us who's committing crimes in our own communities. The real victims here aren't the politicians getting criticized for their failures. The real victims are the British citizens who've been let down by a system that prioritizes virtue signaling over basic safety. They're the women who've been assaulted by people who shouldn't have been here in the first place. They're the communities that have watched their neighborhoods change beyond recognition while being told to shut up and be grateful. Labour's immigration policy is like a house built on quicksand. It looks solid from a distance, but the moment you examine the foundations, everything starts sinking. They've created parallel societies where British laws and values are treated as optional extras rather than fundamental requirements. And let's be brutally honest about what's happening here. When authorities refuse to collect basic data about crime patterns, when they vote down measures to track foreign offenders, when they treat legitimate concerns as moral failings, they're not protecting anyone's rights. They're protecting their own political comfort zone at the expense of public safety. The Conservative plan isn't exactly radical either. Parliament sets an annual limit on immigration numbers. Revolutionary concept, democratic oversight of who enters the country. Foreign criminals get deported automatically. Shocking stuff, consequences for criminal behavior. No one who commits serious crimes becomes a British citizen. Absolutely mind-blowing, citizenship as a privilege, not a participation trophy. But here's the thing that really winds me up. Every time these issues surface, we get the same tired playbook. First, deny there's a problem. Then claim the data doesn't exist. Then insist that collecting the data would be racist. Finally, when the evidence becomes overwhelming, promise to look into it while doing absolutely nothing. It's like watching the same disaster movie on repeat, except the disaster is real and the people suffering aren't paid actors. Real communities are dealing with rising crime rates. Real families are struggling with housing shortages made worse by uncontrolled immigration. Real public services are buckling under pressure they were never designed to handle. Meanwhile, the activist lawyers and campaigning groups that helped create this mess continue to fight tooth and nail against any attempt to restore sanity to the system. They've turned immigration law into a game where the House always wins, and the House isn't Britain. The government needs to wake up and smell the coffee, preferably something stronger than what they've been drinking. When you refuse to be honest about the dangers in your own streets, when you treat legitimate concerns as moral failings, when you prioritize political correctness over public safety, you shouldn't act surprised when public anger reaches boiling point. Because here's the uncomfortable truth that no one in Westminster wants to acknowledge: you cannot build a safe country on moral paralysis. You cannot protect the innocent by making excuses for the guilty. And you certainly cannot maintain public trust while systematically hiding basic facts about crime and immigration. The solution isn't complicated, but it requires something that seems to be in short supply in modern politics: courage. The courage to collect and publish uncomfortable data. The courage to enforce immigration law consistently. The courage to put British citizens' safety ahead of international opinion. We need a system where immigration serves Britain's interests, not the other way around. Where integration into British society isn't optional. Where foreign criminals are removed swiftly and permanently, not given endless appeals and second chances. But most importantly, we need leaders who are willing to tell the truth, even when that truth is politically inconvenient. Because the alternative, the conspiracy of silence we've witnessed for too long, isn't protecting anyone except the politicians who created this mess. The British public deserves better than a government that treats them like children who can't handle the truth. They deserve leaders who prioritize their safety over political correctness, their communities over virtue signaling, their future over short-term electoral calculations. So here's my challenge to Labour: prove me wrong. Start collecting the data. Start publishing the facts. Start enforcing the law consistently. Show us that you can put British citizens first, even when it's politically difficult. Because until you do, every day brings fresh evidence that your immigration policies aren't just failing, they're actively dangerous. And no amount of moral preaching can change that reality. Right, that's your daily dose of uncomfortable truth served up with your morning coffee. If this video has got your blood pumping as much as a double espresso, make sure you hit that subscribe button because we're serving up fresh perspectives on UK politics every single day. Ring that notification bell so you never miss when we're spilling the tea on what's really happening in Westminster. And if you've got thoughts burning hotter than a fresh brew, drop them in the comments below. I read every single one. Share this video with anyone who needs a wake-up call stronger than their morning caffeine fix. Until tomorrow's coffee break, keep questioning, keep thinking, and remember, the truth might be bitter, but it's always better than sweet lies.